and we started a campaign addressing this misuse of the deep well permits. They are bound by best management practices to follow that when they irrigate, their irrigation cannot go outside their targeted crop. And this is happening throughout Madison. So what I want to know is, how is Suwannee River Water Management addressing pivot overspray? Because it happens constantly. And if they do not enforce their policies regarding best management practices, how is that going to impact us in the future?
My name's Tom Mirty. I'm the Deputy Executive Director of Water and Land Resources. This particular question relates more to our permitting than it does to water supply planning. That's why I'm addressing it instead of Amy. I'm not in charge of our permitting, but I've got some awareness of how we do that. So I know that when we receive feedback or complaints from the public about those types of things, that we send people out to investigate it. So that's the first thing I would do. I imagine, Lisa did not specify, but I assume that she has done that as well. But I know that we have responded to those types of requests from the public, and we're certainly interested in terms of conservation. If crops aren't getting watered in an overspray situation, that would be interested in addressing those types of things. So we would, in a situation where identifying that there's a problem with water supply, one of the ways that we would handle that is implementing best management practices. If the district and the state, the Florida Department of Agriculture, are spending significant amounts of money in terms of helping improve agricultural irrigation efficiency, the types of situations that Ms. Langston has described wouldn't meet that, so we want to address it. So that will be our intention moving forward in any case, and I encourage her to contact our permitting department. I can provide a name to her now for the person to address, and be more than happy.
If I may, Mr. Chair, exactly what Ms. Langston is stating. Several complaints I've received in the past, especially when it comes to the herbicide, pesticide overspraying that is going on other people's property. And I know all of our ag business want to be good neighbors, and we would appreciate any effort y'all would have whenever we get these types of complaints, that it is taken seriously and handled expeditiously as possible.
Our campaign addressed this on multiple levels. We ended up taking videos after we were told by Suwannee River that the companies were compliant, because they have a flawed system of reporting, which is self-reporting. Self-reporting is so easy to report inaccurate information. They were reporting that they were compliant with their best management practices, and we proved them wrong through video documentation and numerous letters that I wrote on a daily basis corresponding with Suwannee River Water Management District. So in the future, I think it would be very important that you oversee this very closely, because what they're reporting is not accurate. Thank you.
Mr. Diaz, just for clarification, in terms of overspray of water, crop irrigation, that type of stuff, that's something that falls under us. If it's a matter of pesticide or herbicide application, that's something that would go to DAX. We don't have
I understand, it's just the
yeah.
fact that when that overspray, that when it is occurring, it does contain herbicide, pesticide.
Yeah, so it's, in that case,
It
it
has
would
an
be.
adverse effect on other crops and other foliage and even animals.
Indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. That all?
That's it.
Okay, thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank
Okay, we'll move on down to number 4. Update from Crawford File. Come step forward, Mr. Powell.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
One, sent an update email a couple of weeks ago to Mr. Kaufman, so I won't read everything. I'm assuming that it probably got forwarded out to you guys, but I did want to give you some heads up. On the mattress manufacturing, we had a meeting in Tallahassee last week, which is still moving forward. He is still waiting on USDA funding, but again, the permits have been pulled, and so as soon as his funding is finalized, then he will be ready to break ground over on the Greenville location. His equipment supplier is waiting on him to break ground, so it's kind of a if A then B on that one. The concrete panel housing manufacturing group is still trying to determine what their market's gonna be. The hurricane kind of interrupted but enhanced their opportunities, so they're trying to determine how they can best get into that market for workforce housing. The juvenile justice facility over in Greenville is still in a renovation process, but they are moving along. They are also waiting on some final USDA funding, but they are moving along in their renovations over there to re-engage that facility. I facilitated a meeting Friday a week ago with a couple of groups that are looking at doing broadband. It was primarily their engineering guys that met to make sure that each group was agreeing with the engineering of how the plan would look to go forward on that. I think both sides were pleased with that. They're still ironing out a few of the details, but we expect them to be able to, formally announce that project's gonna move forward probably in about 90 days. The Magnolux, the LED lighting project that purchased the restaurant out near the industrial park, he is still waiting on his partners in China to decide what he's gonna do to confirm, what they're gonna do to confirm what he's going to do. I usually touch base with him every couple of weeks just to make sure everything's still on track. He said he's still confirmed from Madison. He's just waiting. The Chinese groups predominantly have run into issues because of the tariffs coming from the federal level. The medical marijuana treatment center that the commission supported to go in the industrial park is still in a holding pattern. Legislature is in office. As you know, it's been a goal of the governor to get these moving along. They were looking at some additional medical marijuana legislation that was on the table. They're hoping once session is through that the governor is going to release the licensing to continue on moving through that. We also, I have a call with them usually about every 2 weeks. I actually got a meeting with them this afternoon in Tallahassee. The Florida Rural Economic Development Summit was held about a month ago. Commissioner Davis and Mr. Kaufman also attended. Was primarily discussing rural development for all of Florida, but a lot of that was focused on workforce development, what they call soft skills, which Commissioner Davis deals with a lot of times at the technical school level and the high school level. But there was also a pretty robust discussion on what they call middle skills. High school graduates that don't go to technical school and don't go to college, which is fine, but how do you transition them from a high school education to what they call middle skills, where we need trained employees to go into that next level? So that's kind of a big issue. It's not just a Florida issue, but it's a big issue. Also at the summit, was able to meet Mr. Jamal Sewell, who is now the new Secretary of Commerce for Enterprise Florida, and also the new Executive Director of DEO, Mr. Ken Lawson. So it was an opportunity to have a couple of receptions with those gentlemen. At the summit, we did a rural breakout survey. We were broken up into groups. I was asked to present on site development, industrial park development for rural communities. A couple of months ago, I was also, just as an informational piece, I was asked to serve on the Northeast Florida Workforce Board here in town. And then also MCDC is sponsoring a Vision 2030 community forum. Most of you have probably seen the emails that have gone out on the questionnaire that has been submitted. That information has been finalized and being calculated. There will be a meeting on March 28th that evening. It will be at Madison Church of God as a community forum on the Vision 2030 planning. I would encourage as many of you as possible to attend if you can do that. And that concludes.
Thank you, Mr. Powell. Any questions from the board?
I don't have any good update.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Carl.
Thanks, guys.
All right, that concludes our scheduled agenda. I'd like to ask our road department, Mr. Thigpen, how's our paving coming?
Well, can we give you an update?
Please.
Morning.
Scruggs is pretty much through paving, Olive Street and Old Valdosta Road and Cherry Lake. They just have to do the seeding. They'll do that very soon. They've also finished paving Almond Street and, Shrine Club Road. We got a few places in there. We're gonna put sod, the rest of it will be seed mulch as well. They're putting lime rock on, or they finished the lime rock on Floridina Road. They haven't paved it yet. They'll be paving that within the next few weeks. They're working on moving the right of way on Flowers Road now. We should finish putting lime rock in it within the next couple of weeks. They're paving, I think they're through with Castleberry. They're paving Earnhardt Road now. Should finish it sometime next week possibly. And, they're getting Donaldson Road ready for lime rock. Probably start placing lime rock on that road possibly tomorrow. I think they're about through with the lime rock on, Clover, and as soon as they can get the paving crew in there, they should pave that road. Overstreet down below Greenville, I'm not sure exactly when Anderson plans to move the paving crew in on that, but that'll be in the same workings as Thompson Road. It'll be the same contract.
Any further questions from the board?
Could you, buddy, contact Mr. Lawrence, that he had some problems on this road, Oslo, I believe is the name of it. Just check.
When it goes to where the chicken houses used to
Right
be,
in that
by the
area.
middle school,
Yeah,
sure, I'll give him a